What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the BTW Podcast, Beers, Toys, and Wrasslin. Joined by the usual crew tonight, Nate Gleason, Lance Johnson,
Wheat, grana, wheat, ninny bomb?
Dustin Hayward,
Yeah, hello.
and Wade Fry.
Weep, grana, weep, ninny bomb.
Unfortunately, I don't have any Energon treats for you guys, so.
Don't worry, they'll reciprocate.
So yeah, we took a week off last week. Wade had some family stuff to deal with, and always family first. So that was not an issue. We're doing episode 13 this week, I think.
And all 5 people who listen to this podcast on YouTube were very disappointed.
Yep, they were probably crying, waiting for my sultry voice to come through the internet airwaves.
I got invited back over to my parents' house for dinner tonight, and my wife they called my wife, and my wife's like, "Listen, we made him cancel his stuff last week. If we do it again, he's probably going to murder somebody in our family."
Well, yeah, like I said, it was not one bit of a problem. We all gotta deal with schedule stuff, and it was not an issue. I thought I was gonna have to cancel tonight, and turns out things went okay, and so here we are.
You can tell Nate's not married. You can tell Nate's not married because it's not a big deal. So then the next time you told your old lady, "Hey, I got the podcast tonight," she'd be like, "I thought it wasn't a big deal." It's always a big deal, Nate. Don't show your cards.
Hashtag single for life. All right. Let's see. What do we want to jump into, guys? Actually, before we do that, let's just go around. Let's do some week recaps. How's everybody been doing? Lance, go. Start us off on this.
Sure. I've been kind of up and down. Definitely a highlight talking with you guys. But no, things have been kind of choppy. Although another highlight is last Sunday, Nate came over, and we watched wrestling for the first time in a few months, and it was fantastic.
Since the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, since the Royal Rumble. And it was we got together for NXT in Your House, which was an amazing show. I'm sure we'll talk about later, so we'll save some stuff for that. But yeah, it was wonderful. Nate got to go bear hunting out in my backyard.
Mm-hmm. Lance and I had a tender embrace, which was luckily photographed.
That's right. I believe we sent it to you, poor guys, and I'm sure you questioned, really, are they like that in real life? Yeah, we
the
really
answer
are.
is yes, unequivocally yes.
But other than that, it's just been fun times. I did house stuff, which is always fun. I know we talked about scheduling AC. I also scheduled the septic to be pumped, which now I have to go out in the heat this weekend and dig a hole in my backyard, because nothing says weekend fun like digging a hole. Unfortunately, I will not be taking any souls, just digging the holes. And right. I think that's it. I'm good.
Justin, how about you? How's the week been, and what's new happening in that neck of the woods?
It's been good, man. Yeah. I don't know. Everything's kind of getting back to normal around here.
Is it still at what, 75% capacity in the restaurant?
Yep, 75 now, and all retail and stuff around here is at 100%.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Is there an expectation for when 100% capacity will be returned to your restaurant?
Right now, it's for July 4th,
Okay.
which will be right after I get back from vacation. So,
All right. Oh, just take a vacay, then back into the fire, huh?
always
Right, just know you're literally driving back to a shitstorm. Like,
every time. Like 2 people got fired, or I had to fire 2 people basically right before I'm leaving.
Oh,
Every year, every time I go on vacation, 2 people don't work there when I get back.
Jesus. And it's going to be an absolute butt fucking when all this really fully opens up and everyone is just so sick of being inside.
Okay with it, man. Bring that money in. We'll be good.
Hey, best way to look at it.
Yeah.
So Wade, how about you, buddy?
oh man, aside from just finding out that I'm just getting older, because I'll sit down to watch Raw, and then all of a sudden I wake up in my chair and it's 5:00 in the morning, and I'm like, what?
That shit sucks.
Like I'm gonna sit down and I'm really gonna sit down and I'm really gonna watch wrestling and be super into it and be able to be a contributing member of our podcast this week and be like, oh god, like it sucks. It sucks. I don't know. Past that, man, working, eating, and sleeping. We got our stand-up freezer last week. Took a dump, so I ordered a new one, and I accidentally ordered a refrigerator.
Ooh,
so that showed up, and then I had to call Best Buy, and then tomorrow they're supposed to be picking up the refrigerator and dropping off a new freezer. It's been like it's just doing like weird Midwestern family stuff. My couple doors down, the neighbor kids have a little Razor dirt bike, like a little electric Razor dirt bike.
Mm-hmm.
My kids I like that. So my wife found one on Facebook, doesn't run, for $50, and they retail for like $250. I was like, well, go pick it up. I mean, it's an electric motors don't really go bad, so it's got to be something else.
Yeah.
So I came home from work, took it apart. The fuse in it's good. It looks like the control's good, and I think it's just the battery pack. So I ordered a new battery pack off of Amazon, but there's this little dirt bike. It's so pitiful. It's in like 100 pieces in my garage.
And what the battery pack must have been what, $30-$40?
It's $60.
Okay.
So it wasn't but it's just funny because all these people, like, we found a bunch of them on the Facebook marketplace. So like, it doesn't run. And then so I just go on YouTube and put like Razor MX 350 or whatever it is not running. And they're like, the first 5 videos are like, if you got a digital multimeter, like if you guys don't own a digital multimeter, go buy one, because it'll save you so much heartache and headache when it comes to like diagnosing what your problem is with like your car, your appliances, because it tests resistance, it tests opens and breaks. And this guy he just tested the battery, and he said, listen, the control needs 20 amps or 20 volts to turn over, and the battery is only putting out 17 volts. So all it does is just click, and it won't go. And mine just going click, 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 click. Like, all right, well, I'll test that. And I tested it. It's like, all right, well, we'll get a new battery pack. But I don't know. My job after 10 years, there's guys that have been working there longer than me, 13, 14 years in the same position. We got the first whisperings today of possible promotions within the company, because they are the guys for the company I work for that are like a little step above us, that work out of the bucket trucks that do maintenance and construction outside. Those guys make like $43-$45 an hour. Jeez. And some of them have been in the company for 25, 30 years. So we're told that they're starting to work buyouts, see if some of those guys want to leave, and they'll start promoting us, and we'll be paid a little bit less, but I'll still take like a $10 an hour pay bump.
That's
nice.
So everyone's chomping at the bit as to like, all right, well, when's it going to happen? What's going on? So I contacted the union today and was like, if you guys have any literature on any of the, because they hire by seniority, but you have to pass the test to say you're not a complete idiot. So like, if you have any literature on any of the tests, I want all of it. I want a copy of all the study guides. I want a copy of everything. So I did this. It's not been a bad week. We get to, when I wasn't in last week, at my parents' house, and they're in the middle of redoing their house, so you can go over there and barbecue for them, and they got a pool, so the kids get to swim and stuff like that. Well, it's aggravating to have to call you guys and be like, hey, we got to be. I'm not available. It's nice that my son, he's being able to get out after the damn quarantine and kind of enjoy life a little bit.
Right on, man.
Yeah, my son's chomping at the bit to get out too.
What's that?
That's really good to hear that everything's going pretty well over there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm just like, car to get smashed or something. Something's gonna happen. So I'm eagerly awaiting it.
So Lance and I, as you guys know, are in basically the same area. So everything's pretty much the same in our areas. Restaurants have opened up to 50% capacity. Was able to hit the joint that a lot of my friends work at on Monday. Now that the bar was opened up, and it was just it's like a little family reunion, people you haven't seen in 3 months, and it was really, really nice. Getting out a little more often to shop, just because it's been 3 months. Going out once a week is just not fun. So even if it's just for a stop at Target or something like that, just doing it a little bit more, especially since June 29th here in New Hampshire, the state is essentially will be fully reopened. The 29th of June, our governor, Chris Nunu, is calling off the stay-at-home order, and everything's back to 100% capacity, and life shall continue. Some people think it's about time. Some people think it's too soon. Sorry, it's hard to say, but New Hampshire has been one of those states. I'm knocking on my wood table here, that was not ravaged by this disease. And,
I mean, if we're being honest, I still prefer the old Hampshire, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, well, the old Hampshire was getting a little drooly and smelly, so we had to get rid of it.
So when you go out, like me, I'll carry my mask in my pocket, and if a store or something like that says you must wear a mask, I'll put it on. But generally, like, everyone is keeping a good distance from each other.
Yeah,
and all the stores I've been in have hand sanitizer by the door. So like when I do my business and leave, I can just get a couple squirts of hand sanitizer and be on my way. Like I know it's a first world problem to bitch that the masks are uncomfortable, but it's like, unless it's absolutely necessary and you feel uncomfortable, I'm not putting it on.
That's fair. My dad likes to tease me because I still go with a mask everywhere, and I put gloves on so I don't have to continuously wash and sanitize my hands. And I'll even after the 29th, I'll probably keep that up a bit. But I'm being careful. I'm going out a little more, but I'm also abiding to any store guidelines or anything like that. And places by us are, we have designated traffic patterns in the stores. The checkout lines are spaced. So, I'd like to think all that, because that's been going on since day one, essentially. I'd like to think that's kind of what has been helping keep our state's numbers down so low. I mean, we had 6 new deaths recently, and that's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. I think the whole state has had only like 5,200 cases. So things, I don't know that the curve is going down, but I definitely think we are at pretty much a plateau.
No, the curve's going down. I think last week they reported 20 new cases, down from 21 the week before, and that's the lowest number of cases since early March. So, and that's why Sununu is allowing the order to expire on the 29th, is because we are, as a state, in such a good shape, or in such good shape in general. I think the only caution it would be is, I don't, when I go out, I don't wear gloves, but I'll wear the mask all the time whenever I'm in a store, regardless of whether or not it requires it. We do our best to keep the social distance, but if people aren't still practicing those recommendations, I guess they are at this point, then that's where we risk the uptick. Like those 21 states that are experiencing an increasing rates right now because they were like, oh, you know what? We're at Easter and we're going to open the state because we were told we could do it. And I think now we're seeing the effects of a premature opening, shall we say. But yeah, luckily in our state, we're not a very populous state to begin with. So we've been able to control it. But again, you got to keep up the same practices that you were using. Otherwise, we go back to increasing rates and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's that estimated second outbreak that's going to come in the fall. No clue yet. But I think if everyone keeps doing these practices, masks, distancing, all that, through 2020, we'll probably be in pretty good shape. Especially since, a lot of the rumors have been saying between September and December, maybe not necessarily a full-fledged vaccine is going to be available, but various treatments may be available by then.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Usually a vaccine takes 4 years to get to market. And I know they've, quote-unquote, fast-tracked this one. So even if they were able to do it by then, that would be, even if it's, say, in first quarter 2021, that's phenomenal speed in terms of what they've been able to do.
Yeah.
They're like, we have a vaccine. You're like, does it work? Oh, we don't know, but it's a vaccine. All right.
Oh, and I can't wait until all the anti-vax moms and stuff come out of the woodwork for this. It's going to be a shit show when it happens, and I'm just going to be there, getting my shot, eating my bowl of popcorn, watching it go down.
Have you seen the time travel memes? Where the guy comes back and he's like, what year is it? And he's like, 2020. And he's like, is it before or after the people started getting superpowers? And they're like, what?
Yeah, that's yeah. I've seen one similar to that. Time travel comes back. What year is it? 2020. Oh, the first year of quarantine.
Hey, what?
Oh yeah. Yeah. At least people are having fun with it. Well, I'm glad everyone's still doing well. So, why don't we just bang out what everybody's drinking right now? I'm gonna kick this one off. I am having this phenomenal new beer that I found. It is from Barreled Souls up in Saco, Maine. It is called Summer Jam. It is a sour wild ale with strawberry and rhubarb.
Nice.
And yeah, it's basically like drinking strawberry rhubarb crisp. It's fantastic.
Drinking rhubarb? Like, Rhubarb, like strawberry rhubarb pie is all right, but like I guess it's just sour. Rhubarb does not strike me as like a drinkable like flavor. They're like, I've had a really good chocolate milk beer. Like, ooh.
Yeah. No, I can see where you're coming from. The rhubarb adds a nice bitter element. I mean, that's rhubarb is usually bitter, and it counteracts sweetness, and it works so freaking well. So I'm actually going back to McKinnon's tomorrow to try to find another 4-pack of it, because I had never had it, and if I'd gotten 2, I was afraid if I got 2, I'd be maybe wasting money. But yeah, it's amazing. Strawberry rhubarb is one of my dad's favorite combinations, so he's been drinking it too. So kind of had to fight him for the last 2 cans here. But yeah, so that's what I'm on this week. How about you, Lance?
I am drinking water. It is filtered from my tap, and it has some orange vanilla Mio vitamin water additive flavoring thing in it. Did that sound as good as Nate's?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I tried to make it sound as good as possible.
You know what? And you get an A for effort.
I will take that.
All right. Dustin, how about you? What are you on tonight?
We're on the boring old Diet Coke. Just sugar.
Yeah, no, I get it. Good on you for doing what you got to do, man.
Yeah. No fun.
Yeah. I know. Believe me. I know. Wade, how about yourself?
We're all a bunch of boring old men here. It's officially sweet tea season for me, so I've been brewing and drinking sweet tea.
All right. Well, that was easy.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, I don't know, unless Lance is drunk. I mean, we don't have a whole lot to say about the B part.
I'm not drunk right now. I mean, I could probably get drunk real quick, but not right now.
Yeah, you can. So this weekend I'll be hitting up Pipe Dream, one of my favorite breweries up there. So it'll be my first time hitting a brewery since summer of 2019. So I'm super excited about that. I'm not sure if they have anything new yet. So next week I'll probably have something different from that. But now that things are, like we said, things are opening up again, I'm hoping to at least hit a couple this summer, because man, I miss doing the brewery crawls. So we got a lot to talk about with wrestling. So let's dive right in. We should start with
that, or do we want to end on wrestling? Since that's where we have the most.
I'll leave that up to you guys. Do you want to do the toy stuff now?
Sure.
All right. So let's start by doing the usual. What's everybody got this week? Lance, kick us off.
All right. So since it's been a couple weeks, I got a couple of things here and there. We were talking about them a little bit before we started the pod. I was able to put together a Guard City combiner. I got Power of the Prime's Inferno off of Amazon. It was like $20, and we have Prime. I already had Rook and Prowl. My son decided he wanted to get rid of Alpha Bravo, so I swooped in and took that, and then I traded him Combiner Wars Smokescreen for Combiner Wars Deluxe Class Groove. So I was able to get that pretty cheap. I finally got my order from Vitruvian Hacks. that I put in on March 21st because Massachusetts was able to go back in, so they were able to get back in and ship things out. I got a demon character kit, a wizard character kit, a gold armor set, one of their mighty steeds shield, the white one. I got, along with that, the Pegasus upgrade kit for it. My plan for that is I'm going to paint that all black so that way I can have the character Blackjack from Percy Jackson. Then I got their Roman Tack mini gear kit, which came with a Roman Pilum, a helmet, and a shield. That went with my existing Gladius on one of my Marauders figures that I got to make Jason Grace, also from Percy Jackson. Then I also got from them a couple of random character builder kits, like mini character builder kits, just hands and heads. So I got a vampire one because they were blind bags, and then I got a robot one that lets you replace the figure's hand with a hand that looks kind of like the buzzsaw from a G.I. Joe bat. I also got a blank male character, so that way I can build with that as needed. I also got the McFarlane Superman Unchained and McFarlane Hellbat armors. And the last thing I got, two other things, all of them Transformers. I got the Netflix series Decepticon Mirage, and then I got the Seeker 2-pack of Thundercracker and Skywarp at Nate's local Target, which took about an hour for me to go down there and get, but I went and I got it.
So, Nate, you couldn't have bought one, went outside back to your car, put it away, and then came back in and bought a second one?
Sorry, I was muted there for a sec. I honestly...
I'm just trying to decide if Lance is important enough for you to walk back into Target a second time.
No.
No, I'm not.
Just zero hesitation.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Yeah. No, I honestly didn't think that far ahead because I was so goddamn excited. They were only pulling one at a time, and so I was just happy, and yeah.
It's fine. It is what it is. We all know. I caught crap from Kurt for not picking him up one either. But the one that I got, the box was slightly damaged, and they said, yeah, we have one, which led me to believe they only had one more left. So I think what happened...
Yeah, and that's pretty much what they said to me too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we put a hurting on their supply before it actually made it out to the shelf.
Yeah.
It sounds like Lance, you just bought everything you came across this week. That you just anything that kind of hoved into your field of vision, you were like this and two of these and a buzzsaw hand.
Well,
right?
The buzzsaw hand is all important. No, that Vitruvian Hax order, I've had that waiting to ship since March 21st. So I was super excited to get it, and just kind of check out what they did with the Mighty Steeds. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Hax figures, other than me putting them over on this podcast, which I am about to do again. They are fantastic. You can do so much with them. They're 4-inch figures, and they come apart at almost every joint. You can pop them apart and swap joints, swap pieces. They have all kinds of things. They've got Greek soldiers, Roman soldiers. They've got Gorgons. They've got elves. They've got They have now with their Mighty Steeds line a frickin' elk. Like if you need to have your elf riding an elk, you can do that. So it's pretty cool. I'm a huge fan, and I'm using them primarily to build characters from the book series. I know most people associate it with the movies, and the movies were crap, but Percy Jackson. So the first book series, the second book series, then they've got a few more. My son and I have pretty much read them all. And I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology to begin with, so I just buy hack stuff and build my own Percy Jackson characters. So I'm super excited to be able to do that, and their stuff is just great. It's so good. So good. All right, I'm going to stop putting them over for right now.
And we should mention, I don't know that we have before the podcast, but they are a local company here based out of Norwood, Massachusetts.
They are indeed, and I love going down there. The people are great. Their former Hasbro employees, when Hasbro folded the 4-inch Modern Joe line, they started up their own company, and they're making killer stuff. They also have the license for Flash Gordon, Bucky O'Hare, and the Phantom. So
they're right on the pulse of popular media today.
Well,
yep.
You know, it's one of those things. The license is there. They're making great figures, and they also have an agreement with a promotion company out of Mexico that does a lot with AAA Lucha Libre stuff, and they are making a 6-inch Pentagon and Phoenix, and they look wonderful. Unfortunately, AEW's coming out with those guys in like their wave 2 of figures, but
yeah, but I'll tell you what, I really think Boss Fight's gonna smoke Jazzwares on the quality of these figures.
Absolutely, without question.
Is a 6-inch Pentagon and Phoenix like quarter scale, or like what is it?
I think 6-inch would be 1/6 scale, right?
For them.
Well, geez. Okay, walked right into that one. I'll tell you. So yeah, they looked way better at the Toy Fair reveal than the Jazzwares ones did. So and Eric, the guy who runs Boss Fight, is just a super cool dude.
He really is. He was so excited about it. It's funny because when I went down there, he was like, "We're doing something with wrestling." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I can't tell you what it is." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "But we might be able to have them come in to the studio and do like a meet and greet and everything with them." But they were still setting it up, and I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "But I can't tell you who it is, but it's because if you talk to him for more than 5 minutes, you know he loves wrestling, and you kind of put 2 and 2 together." But it was it would, if they're able to do that when the figures come in, it'll be awesome. And I sent a link if you guys want to check out that stuff in the chat. God, I love them. They're fantastic.
So I'm gonna go next here because the acquisitions of the week kind of went hand in hand with Lance, as well as a few other things, much like Lance and ours life, just hand in hand.
This is true.
Yeah. So we've already discussed the Seeker 2-pack. Really great. I'm happy to say that neither Thundercracker nor Skywarp have any of the QC issues that I ran into with Starscream. Week before last, when we were recording, I was telling you guys about the issues I was having with my Starscream, and after we were done recording, I actually went in, took his waist apart, shaved down the flashing that was on the the disc hinge that was creating that separation, and just nothing would sit flush in transformation. So I was able to fully repair him. So now he's really cool. When I went up to Lance's, I brought bourbon and beer with me, and gave him some new IPAs, as well as basically like almost a full bottle of a 1 liter of Basil Hayden's, which we promptly smashed.
Yeah.
And he hooked me up with the box and little plane set that went with Fans Project Assaulter. So it's really cool having those little vehicles. I'll be able to create a cool little display. And Lance got the cassette 4-pack from Hasbro Pulse, and he did not want Knock or Scar, and I already have Earthrise Double Dealer on pre-order, so I'll be able to have those go with my Double Dealer. And he gave me the last Minicon Saber team that I needed to have a full collection of the Made 4 sets. So I have the Star Saber, Dark Star Saber, Energon Saber, and Chaos Saber. And to go any deeper than that in those sets would just be dumb and super expensive, because there's like a bunch of lucky draw sets that are, like I think less than 10 were made. So yeah, we're not going to be hunting any of those down.
That sounds like a quitter talk. I'm just saying.
I said it last time, Wade. I'm getting sick of your shit, because you're convincing me of spending unnecessary money.
Oh, Nate, I get it. I mean, it's hard to complete a collection when there's only 10 things in the collection. It must be super hard. It's not like trying to get.
Thank you. Someone gets it.
If I want to collect the Star Sabers, they only made 10 different kinds, and it's super hard for me to get all 10.
Super hard. Yeah, just impossible. So aside from my quitter collection talk, yeah, that's all I had for the past couple weeks here. Said Dustin, how about you hit us up with what you got?
All right. Good grief, man.
That much, huh?
Yeah. I finished my MP Dinobots. So I got the Gigapower Sludge. So that's an achievement. I got my Infinite Transformations MP Dinobot.
Oh, how is the quality on it?
Mine is good. I transformed it and everything. No breakages. It feels great. I mean, I don't know how Ben's Collectibles sheared his foot off, but
yeah, that and like there was a lot of looseness in like the joints and stuff. But I mean, that's what you get when you review test samples. And,
yeah.
And it annoys me to no end that that's pretty much all he does, and he never reviews the actual finished product.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my copy that I got was not the same thing that he reviewed for sure. Like, it was definitely way more refined.
That's great to hear. Especially because both, some of these newer companies, Infinite Transformations, Transform Element, I want to see them succeed because they're putting out great stuff.
Definitely. So, I got the Sugarman Age of Apocalypse wave of Marvel Legends last week. Got my Yellow Ranger. Today I picked up Ian Malcolm from GameStop for $8. So that was cool. Good grief, man. I sold some stuff.
All right.
So that's all right. I think that might be it. I know I'm missing something, but I think that might be it.
All right, so got some good stuff during these past 2 weeks.
Yeah, sure.
And I've seen pictures of that Lightning collection, Yellow Ranger, and I love the job they did with Treaty's head there. I never remember how to pronounce the actress's name. She sadly passed away in 2006.
Yeah, I think so. In the car crash.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, it was just I'm really glad they did such a good job with it.
Yeah, it looked really nice. I still have my pre-order through BBTS for the Yellow Ranger and a Blue Ranger. If I find a Blue Ranger in the wild, I'll still probably keep the pre-order so I can have trade bait for stuff, because I know people are going crazy trying to find that Yellow Ranger all over.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I've discussed it before, but the Rangers themselves, I've never been like too keen on. Even when I was a kid, I wasn't really collecting the Ranger figures. I'm all about the robots, the Zords and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm both. Like, I'm definitely in for the Alpha 5 Zordon pack and the Rita and Zed pack. I got two of the Buddy 2 packs on pre-order.
Nice.
So I'm all in on that. As long as it's MMPR, I'm staying just strictly MMPR and Boom Comics. So like Lord Draken and Ranger Slayer.
Nice.
It's okay. We all know you like Turbo Rangers. It's not a bad thing.
I dig a lot of it, dude. Like, for real. Like, I like Zeo. I actually thought Megaforce and Super Megaforce are one of the best seasons since MMPR, although most people don't agree with me. Like, I think those seasons are some of the most fun, and the whole like invasion of Earth angle, and like there was like serious threat. It wasn't just a freak of the week kind of thing.
Which season of Power Rangers had the Forever Red, where they had all the Red Rangers on? Rangers in Space or something like that? No,
it was later. It was pretty. That was that. Was that No, it wasn't SPD. Operation Overdrive, I think.
Okay, that's one of those where you're just like the nostalgia.
Well,
yeah.
Super Megaforce did that shit where like they could turn into any team that they wanted to. So you had MMPR and Zeo and In Space and Time Force and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I remember the episode Wade's talking about there. That was in one of the older seasons.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not the same thing, but I loved it because you got to see the actual suits in an American show that should have been alongside the Thunderzords. I can't remember the Japanese name.
Yeah. I can't either.
Yeah, that was in Super Megaforce. Like, you got to see the other suits that went along with the White Ranger's suit.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Force.
Oh, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. At the end of Super Megaforce, don't they bring back like every single Ranger costume and have a giant Ranger army?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it shows like that Rangers are all part of the same continuity, and it's all kind of like in different either different universes, like multiverse kind of thing, or it's like different periods in time.
And if I recall correctly, there was a lot more Sentai footage of that than they actually used in that, massive battle scene. Because they also did film some original stuff for the show. Obviously, you had JDF and a few of the other actors, just stand there in suits. But
right.
but I think there was a lot more footage of that massive battle that they didn't use, which,
Really?
as I recall, a bunch of people were miffed at.
Now,
Yeah, I've never watched Sentai at all ever. I've only ever watched Power Rangers, so I'm kind of lost on the Sentai.
I watched the pilot of Zoo Ranger, which is essentially Mighty Morphin.
Right.
And it was, for me, it was difficult to get into.
Right.
I don't know. I think I just, I had 20 years of Power Rangers under my belt, and try to get into this weird new thing that was similar but very different. I just couldn't do it.
Right.
Now, I will say, it seems like, though, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or like my tastes are refining, but like it seems to me as the seasons go on, the Megazords are just getting like weirder and chunkier, and like they're just not. They don't seem like as cool. Like the Megazords. Like I have like fond memories of a child. That's what I'm saying. Of like the Zeo Megazord and the Shogun Megazord.
I personally think it's a combo platter of the both.
But again, though, like the Super Mega Force, the Pirate Zord thing, like it looked fucking cool. It was close to like Daijujin or whatever, the original Megazord, like as far as like uniformity and not looking kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Like the Samurai Zord was like a big ball of bubbles.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, no.
Well, one of them was. The symbols one was kind of neat.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the kanji one.
Yeah.
Not the way that Bandai did it, or Bandai of America rather, because I'm so glad that the Zord Builder stuff is pretty much dead, because I never liked that gimmick, and it just, they bastardized the designs that Bandai Japan made that were so cool.
Are you talking about this? Is it Samurai Megazord, the one that's all the kanjis?
Yes, yeah. The first.
There's two of them though. One of them.
There's Samurai and there's Super Samurai.
Okay, because I bought my kid off of one of the toy groups a long time ago, the Samurai one, and then come to find out there was one that was released maybe in like Japan, or maybe it was released where like they turned into the kanji, and they did something else.
They turned into an animal and a little
the kanji.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's cool.
And Hasbro, and it wasn't Hasbro yet. Bandai did a I think it was kind of like a test market thing they did, where they released the exact same mold that came out in Japan over here in the US as some kind of collector's edition, and just jacked the price up by like 2.5 times.
Wow.
And it didn't really take off. And I get it. I mean, it's like, so back in the 90s, you could give us the same mold. Why can't you now?
Right.
But yeah, that's how that went down.
But every time I go to the store, like my kid, he got into Power Rangers when they had was it Dino Thunder, when they had the little bullets you load in the gun? The little tube things you load in the gun, and they spun the gun, and that's how they morphed.
Dino Charge, right?
Yeah.
Dino Charge. I'm sorry, but like I thought that was cool when they had like, because I sit down to watch it with them. They had like the Pterozord, and they had they had all the different dinosaur Zords that you could get, and they could all be kind of mishmash. Like that's neat, but then like they put it together, and like I said, none of it just seems as clean as like the OG Megazords. Like they always do a bunch of kibble, or like it's all just super weird.
Yeah, the original like MMPR and Zeo Zords were the most elegant designs, especially the first one. The first design is outside of the boots, doesn't look like a combiner. It just looks like a robot.
Right. Yeah, that and the Ninja Megazord, like that went together super nice with the bear and the frog. Like that worked out perfect.
Yeah, I'm waiting for. Yes, Hasbro has the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers license, but as far as I know, Bandai still holds on to the Sentai license,
Yes.
so they can keep producing their, like they could reissue the Megazord as Daizujin again, and Dragon Caesar and King Brachion and all their Japanese names. But I'm really hoping they take a stab at a couple of the later seasons, like the Thunder Megazord, which after those first 3 Zords, I have no idea what the Japanese names are. But
do you think that they'll, because there was the Solar Chigoken did a couple of them, which I had the Solar Chigoken Megazord. While it was nice, it wasn't. It was more like a. Once you combined it, like it almost felt like more like a statue. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like superposable and all this crazy stuff.
But it was the most articulated combining Megazord ever, even though it wasn't that articulated.
Yeah,
but that's not saying a lot. But what I'm saying though is like what all these third-party companies can do with, you like if you gave like fans toys a chance.
Right.
To just like, hey, just do the original Megazord. Like, you want to license the print money, just do this and do it really well.
Right.
Sell it one piece at a time for like $100. Make it really nice. Make it well painted. Make it, put die-cast pieces in it. And I think it would be great.
Yeah, it would, but Bandai is ruthless. So if they still hold the Sentai license, they could still come after fans' toys for infringement, and like they would with like anybody that copies Gundam and shit. Like Bandai don't fuck around like Hasbro.
No, I'm what I'm saying. The point I'm making is that like I wish that they would like just like don't give something like fans' toys or whatever the complete license to all the Megazords. Just like one, like here, make this, do a really good job at this.
Right.
And let's try and see what it ends up looking like.
It can be done, and I'm thinking maybe if they don't do it for the regular line, I think maybe in like a few years we might see a HasLab for a Megazord or some kind of Power Rangers, like because they got through their Star Wars, we got through our Transformers, or they're getting ready to they're working on the Marvel Legends one. So they got to have something else for another one of their big lines coming. So I think it might either, they probably tackle a Power Rangers thing and then do a G.I. Joe thing and then circle back around.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did the G.I. Joe thing first, just to stay out of any legal issues with Bandai.
But they own all Power Rangers. They don't have to worry about anything with Bandai.
Do they own everything outright? They don't have to collaborate with Bandai on that?
No, they don't collaborate at all. Like Hasbro owns everything branded Power Rangers. So if it was in a Power Rangers show or any kind of Power Rangers media, they own it.
They just don't do Sentai. Like if it was some special thing from Sentai, they couldn't do it.
Right.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's really possible to see some kind of like, probably be like Unicron size and expensive Megazord, but it'd be hella posable, I bet. I mean, they already showed one, I think at Toy Fair. They showed it's like a little glimpse of like a posable Megazord type thing. I'm not sure if it's like a Build-A-Figure that'll be coming out later or if it's some kind of other part of their line or something, but could be interesting.
I mean, that's just so crazy to me that all the like these little kits that they have. I think I have the Shogun Megazord one. What the hell are those little kits?
The
mini play or whatever. Yeah, like that's like what a great idea. Just upscale that.
I have the Voltron one. I mean, that thing is incredible.
Yeah, Pete sings that thing's praises all the time.
Dude, I do too, man. That it was like one of the best $60 I ever spent. Like, that thing was so much fun to pose around and take pictures of. It's like as long as you get low angles on the thing, it looks massive, even though it's only like 5.5 inches tall.
Now, Lance, I don't know if you mentioned this, but because you have the Megazord and Dragonzord of that.
I do. I have the Mini Pla Megazord and Dragonzord. I forget how it got. I think I picked them up in a trade with Bill.
Yep.
Is probably how it happened. But I absolutely...
Was that the one that you traded him? No, that was for the G.I. Joe jet. I was... couldn't remember if that was the trade you did with him for Warden.
No. It was the one I did with him for Warden. I got... what did I get? I got a couple things out of that.
It's like the Raven, Night Raven?
The G.I. Joe Night Raven, right. And then I got... I want to say a Cobra Fang, a modern Cobra Fang, maybe. But yeah, Bill and I have.
I remember now. It was the alternators that you traded him for the.
Yeah, that's right. I gave him a couple of alternators, and I got the Mini Pla back. But I love the Mini Pla. I haven't completed it with getting the Mini Pla Titanus, because that's $150, and that's
so expensive.
And well, it's neat. It has the motor like the original. That's just still,
but man, that's
too much for what it is. Yeah,
for a little brick, because no matter what, Titanus is a brick.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, we've had this discussion multiple times, Dustin. But it's like the reason why I can never pull the trigger on that Solid Oak and Titanus is because You're right. It's brick. Doesn't do anything new, but it's also the exact same, like literally the exact same mold as Legacy, only less screen accurate.
Right. And yeah, it's like you can't, if you're gonna have that, you have to display it as the Ultrazord, and it takes all the fun out of those figures because you think that Megazord doesn't have any posability now.
Yep.
Put a Dragonzord on top of it, stick it in a box.
That's so good. That still wasn't as bad as, what was it, Tor? Didn't Tor open up and they all just went inside Tor?
But I'm okay with because I have all the vintage Thunderzords except for Tor. I'm missing Tor. But I'm okay with some of that. But yeah, I wouldn't pay $280 they want for Titanus for a Solar Shigoken Tor either, or Pyramidas for that matter. I mean, that's, the big Ultrazord combinations are just, they're not fun. They look impressive, but they're not fun to mess with.
I will say I would love to see how Bandai would tackle in SOC Pyramidas.
It'd be intense. It'd be crazy beautiful because it would probably be all gold paint across the whole thing, and it would just shimmer.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would look beautiful, but yeah, it's just the thing's useless. I mean, it's a parking garage for everybody else. The only thing, when it's in Ultrazord mode, all you see is the red Battlezord and its arms sticking over its shoulders. That's all you see.
Right. So at least what Pyramidas and Tor have going for them over Titanus is they do have a battle mode. So Tor can stand up and have basically a robot mode as opposed to his turtle mode. So he does a little something else, and Pyramidas is either a pyramid or he's got his battle mode or the Ultrazord mode, but it helps a little bit with displayability.
What's the one? I think it's from where he was literally a parking garage from Power Rangers Turbo, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Artilla something.
My Turbo knowledge is weak as fuck.
Yeah, you're right. It was this kind of truck that just stacked on top of of itself.
This asshole here in the middle.
Say again?
That's at the picture. So this guy here in the middle. Like, what are we gonna do for the carrier Zord? Don't worry, I got it.
Parking garage with wheels.
He doesn't even fit like on the roads in the city because he can't walk.
Right.
So they have to fight out in the desert like Dragon Ball.
He's got to carry a wide load sign everywhere he goes.
He's got the car. He's got the car in front of him with the big antenna. Make sure he doesn't hit any bridges.
Now I have to look it up because I can't. It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's like something to do with artillery, and
Speaking of things I wish to come out, I just told you guys the other day about those damn Junkions. They're all not due till August. Oh no, well guess what? 2 of them released this week. I'm like,
really?
Yeah. And what's cool about them, if you guys didn't so Crash Hog and Dump Yard came out a couple years ago, and that wreck car, if you don't have that third-party wreck car, he's fantastic.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I love him. He's fucking amazing.
But what's really cool about those bots is like the real Junkions, their arms pull off, their chests pull out. Like you can mix and match them. Like you can destroy them and they rebuild in all different configurations. Like that's awesome. And I add them all to the cart and it's like it's $700. Like, ugh.
Yeah. I saw Mike on Blackout and Shout was talking about he was thinking about buying 2 sets. So we could have one set that's standard and then take the other set and tear them all to pieces, as many pieces as you could take off of them, and then mix and match every single piece back on and make, in a completely different set. Which would be cool, but man, that's a lot of fucking money.
Artillatron, that was the name of that rolling parking garage thing.
Right on.
No, it just sounds like you're making that up. Way to go.
Believe me, with a name like that, I wish I was.
None of them are going to check behind me. I'll just make something up.
You're right.
Bitch, you need a screenshot?
No, I wasn't going to check.
See here. Now you just... Here. Suck on this.
Hey, now.
Well, that's coming later. But... So wait, let's jump over to you. What did you pick up these past?
He's 53 meters wide. He's 150. He's 160 feet wide. He doesn't fit anywhere.
He gets followed by, or in front of the car, it says widest load.
Right. I think the only thing I actually picked up was the Sugar Man BAF, but all I wanted was I bought them all, and all I wanted was the Build-A-Figure, so I turned and sold the individual figures. Past I don't know. Not that I don't have a lot of sticks in the fire or whatever, pokers in the fire, but I don't know. Did we talk? Was it 2 weeks ago about all the GameStop clearance shit that came out? I got all that.
Yes. Yep. You had mentioned that you just went to town on all that stuff.
That all came in. I don't know. I got my kid. It's cool that my kid is starting to be. He's into Fortnite. So the other day I went to go to the grocery store and he's like, if you find like the tomato head guy, I was like, all right, I'll look. And of course I found it. And he was like, get it, please. Like, okay, buddy, no problem. So he knows what he wants. The Yondu I got 2 weeks ago was still sitting unopened. Like he's just like, I took a picture of it, showed you guys, and it's still sitting there. Like, damn it. I don't know, but I don't think it really. It's just been a slow couple weeks. I keep looking at like third-party springers. I had the Fans Toys one when it first came out, and like you buy it and you look at these things, you're like, this looks really cool, and then I sit at my kitchen table, spend 2.5 hours transforming it, and I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, why do I want to? Like, this is. I don't get any enjoyment out of this.
Yeah, fans' toys look pretty, but that's about all they do.
And then you guys, I'm fairly certain. I'll have to look again, but like you guys were talking about, I'm fairly certain I've seen the Blue Ranger and the Yellow Ranger both at like local stores around me.
I need
Just
the Blue.
sitting around.
The
Okay.
Blue Ranger and the Ranger Slayer are both like I'm looking for them.
Okay.
I feel bad because David Yost was talking with people on Twitter, and I guess like he just absolutely hates the head sculpt that Hasbro did for him.
He should. It's terrible.
Tell David Yost, don't worry about it. Nobody's posing it with that damn head sculpt.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys thought about picking up or wanting to pick up the 1/6 scale Rangers they just did? What was it, Toy Ace or something like that?
I thought about it, but then I was like, I got this Lightning collection and limited space, so I kind of backed out. I thought about just trying to get the Green Ranger though, just to have.
Yes. Do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, man.
I will tell you, so not that we had like an impromptu play date yesterday. So a couple doors down is a pastor and his wife, great people, and they got 4 kids. Kids are like 11, 9, 7, 5. They're all 2 years apart. And 3 girls, and the youngest is a little boy. So all of my kids, we took a bunch of my son's toys out, and my garage opens to an alley, and then the other side of the alley is a field. So there's nobody behind us. So the kids just are free to play. And so he has a bunch of his Imaginext. We got all like, and let me just sidebar. Imaginext is such a great line. I mean, for children or otherwise, they have the blind bags with the superheroes in them. They have Imaginext does good work, does the Lord's work for cool little figures because they did the Power Rangers and stuff too. But
the Zords display like a champ. I mean,
yeah,
they're not bad at all.
So I'm sitting there like I'm just sitting in the chair and I'm watching all the kids and we're all just kind of having a good time. And one of the girls, she comes up to me and my son has an Ultimate Warrior figure in one of the boxes. He's got 2 of them. He's got like one of the newer WWE releases that's fully articulated. Then he's got the old one. One of my buddies gave him that's got like the Power Slam. He's just a little 3-inch wrestler, 4-inch wrestler.
Ones.
Oh yeah, one of the old Hasbro ones. Yeah.
I fucking love those figures.
It's so funny. Like the 11-year-old girl, she's like, "Who is this? Why is he dressed like this?" So I was like, "That's the Ultimate Warrior." She's like, "I don't even understand that." And I was like, "All right." So I pulled out my phone and I got on YouTube, and all these kids, I don't think they've ever watched wrestling a day in their lives. I pull up the Ultimate Warrior versus the Honky Tonk Man. It's like a 2-minute match, and it just was hilarious. They're like, "That's they're like their little brains like that's awesome." He comes blitz into the ring, all jacked and crazy, and I'm like, "That's why he's the Ultimate Warrior." And they're like, "All right, we like this guy."
Right. That's awesome, man. You put on the Intercontinental title match?
Yeah, just like, all right, I'm about to learn you guys real fast. And we went through it, and they were like, "Yeah, we like this. This is pretty cool."
That's awesome.
Don't tell your mom and dad. I don't know if you're allowed to watch this or not. But I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Like normally I don't think I've picked up. It's just been like I go through these. I keep running into the big the Siege displays at Walmart. I found all of them. You know what I mean? Like the Hot Link and Megatron and Grapple and I found like, but I just look and I say, like, how bad do I want this, or could I take this $25 and put it towards something way nicer? Like, it's just like me talking myself out of it.
Right.
I mean, I don't think all of them are bad necessarily. It's just that we've gotten so many of those molds. Like Hot Link, to me, there's no point in getting Hot Link because unless you're getting the rest of the Rainmakers, like it's just a random other seeker. And with Megatron, I think we talked about it previously. That's like the 4th Megatron in the last 2 years, 5th Megatron in the last 2 years in that mold.
Right.
It's just overkill.
When they did was it Combiner Wars Megatron? What was the Megatron where they released Megatron and they also released an Armada repaint of him?
That was Combiner
Wars.
Yeah,
like
the Combiner Wars Elite class.
I was geeked to find that Megatron because that was like a really, really well done. Like, you know, the treads folded over, folded up. It didn't just look like a Megatron laying
and
face
they worked.
down.
The treads actually worked.
Right. Like in what world? But yeah, I don't know. I go, you know, I look through and I say, you know, you kind of tell yourself, like, I don't know if it's a dry spell for me per se, but I get aggravated. And, you know, being in the toy groups, you're kind of spoiled because somebody will get one and then they talk about how many problems they had with it or how garbage it was. Or like the Power Rangers, you get them and, or, you know, I'll look at the Power Rangers and I'm looking at the paint on all of them and I'm like, I don't want any of these. You know, like it's like I don't know if the market's just so saturated now that they're just putting out whatever they want without like a lot of quality control because they know that people will buy it in order to complete it.
That's one thing I would love to find out from companies. Like, what is their testing for quality control these days? Because I could tell you with Hasbro at least, it seems like everything from the first release, the first batch rather, and this has been my experience with the past 4 lines, all the Power of the Primes lines and less of Siege. There's always been some sort of fairly significant QC issue with the figures, and then in your second run, it's fixed. I would love to know how are they testing, what are they looking for, and how is it that all this slips through?
I would also like to know how, like, people talk about molds degrading. You know, like they kept saying that they milked like the Masterpiece 10 mold, and as they kept using it more and more, the mold degraded. I'm like, aren't molds made of metal? Like, and aren't they recastable? Like, I guess I don't understand. It'd be kind of the opposite problem what you're saying. Like, it's like they released the first wave and they're like, all right, if they don't bitch, we're not going to do nothing. Like, all right, the people are bitching. We need to go back and fix it.
Well, when you have mold degradation from some stuff, it's that's more along the lines of the injection molds that they use. Best example is the classic Seeker mold, because by the end of its run, you had, Lance, what was it, 15, 16 different figures made from that?
In the U.S., it was probably about 17, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I believe I have 16. No, I have 15, and I know for a fact I didn't have the Universe Starscream, whatever Starscream, when they did Starscream in white, and I think there was one other one that I don't, the G2 Ramjet. So it was 17 in the U.S., then that is across the board. That's from retail release through Collectors Club exclusives.
And some of those later releases of that mold, like, I mean, you'd be lucky if, like, the wings kind of stayed up on its back. And
I disagree because I have the last one. So the last ones out of that mold that they did were in the subscription service, in one of the year's subscription service. It was the subscription service with Serpent OR, where they recolored the classic Scourge into Serpentor. They had Nacelle, and they had G2 Starscream. G2 Starscream was the last one to come out. I didn't see any problems with him. The only issue that I had with Nacelle is that it was an assembly issue rather than a actual quality. Well, it is and it isn't quality control, right? It's got nothing to do with mold degradation. It's just they put the connector port on the wing upside down and it didn't flip the way that it should have. And I contacted them about that. They said, oh, we did it to all of them. Too bad, so sad. But by that point, they knew they were closing anyway.
Yeah, they just didn't care at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so okay, so I misspoke then, because like I know the Universe Starscream so it was around that era of the release of the molds that it started to really show its age in degradation and just bad tolerances. So I think I've only handled the subscription service ones like twice at your house. So, they must have done something to fix it up a little bit. But yeah, usually mold degradation is more along the lines of the injection molding.
All right. I had a thought earlier, and I wanted to write it down because it was something I forget, and like I have like part of it, but it's just one of those like Marvel Legends. Like they slap them together, and it's almost like they're making Marvel Legends now. Definitely not for kids, but like they want, okay, you want to build a figure, so we're just going to put together whatever. When I sold the Sugarman wave, the Age of Apocalypse wave, I was going to sell them in box. I didn't remove the tray, and the guy's like, "No, I don't want the packaging. Just box them up as is." And like it was terrifying to take every single one of them out of the tray and like straighten their legs, straighten their arms, wrap it like without like all right, I'm gonna snap the ankle, I'm gonna snap the knee. Like it just feels like it's no longer. I can't say how long it's been, but it just feels like it's not like a love letter to, while the current Transformers line is like a really good, like, everyone's raving over the Cliffjumper and the Starscream and the Grapple and stuff like that. Like it seems like these other ones are just going the opposite way. That the G.I. Joe released that Snake Eyes to everyone loved it, and then like the next 3 they announced as pre-orders, everyone was like, ooh.
Yeah, and speaking of the G.I. Joe figures, a mutual friend of Lance and myself posted some pictures from the 2 he just opened.
He's gotten 3 total, right? He's gotten Roadblock, Scarlet, and Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
And he said there were issues with all 3. He said that Snake Eyes can't stand on his own, which is highly disappointing because, the most popular G.I. Joe figure is Snake Eyes. Scarlet, I think what did he say? He went to move the arm and the arm just popped out?
No, he said it fell apart taking it out of the package. Like the whole upper torso just completely split in half.
Yeah. And then Roadblock. What was his issue with Roadblock?
Floppy, like completely floppy.
Right.
Like he sent that little video of him just moving it back and forth a little bit.
And like all he was doing, he was shaking it, and it was just falling to pieces.
And not like hard, just like moving his hand back and forth a little bit, and it's like there was no tension in that ab crunch joint at all.
So I don't know. I feel like, especially with Hasbro and watching all the Transformers lines, it's just like it seems like they're just ping ponging between hit and miss. They don't have like back to back hits as releases. Like Combiner Wars was a good idea, but like none of those toys combined looked great. Where they're like spindly at the joint. Stuff like that, it's a great idea on paper, and they can't tell me they're just for kids because they're going to release box sets that they know ain't no parent picking up for their 8-year-old at $100 a pop or whatever.
No, those were for us. Like the box sets were for us. Like I mean, I don't think Combiner Wars was all that bad. For what it was, right? And again, it's those are primarily for kids to play with.
But I mean, like, so tell me what you. So, like, if you, like, we talked about what we thought are our favorite bots or whatever. So I look at the quality of the Combiner Wars, all the Dinobots together, versus like RID, Megatron, Optimus. like it's almost like when I look at Robots in Disguise, the Fire Truck Optimus Prime, like then that was a regular mainstream release, but like that didn't even look like that was made for kids by today's standards.
It's tough to compare stuff from 20 years ago to today, though. I mean,
but what I'm saying is, like, it feels like it peaked and it's coming back down because G1, while it was all die-cast and stuff like that, I mean, like, their legs didn't move, their arms barely moved, like, you know what I mean? That was the technology at the time. I'm just saying that it just feels, you know, because who was it in one of the reviewers bitches about how they're getting away with not making, like, solid arms and legs. They put that, like, waffling. You know, when you turn the arm over one of your figures, it's not a solid plastic inside of the arm. It's like that waffling on the inside. That they're like, oh, that's just a cheap corner you didn't have to cut.
I think it's just cost of materials and everything like that. I mean, that's why it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that Hasbro's cutting corners. I don't think that Combiner Wars. All right, so admittedly, not all of them are perfect. Like, you're not going to get what was on-screen representation because they're not necessarily trying to reproduce what was on G1 like they were back in RID 2000, right? RID 2000 followed that same line of thinking as Beast Wars did, where we want to give you what's on screen, as opposed to the original G1 line, which was, you know, we're gonna make something on screen based on these toys, but do they really look alike? Not really. Right now, I think what they were trying to do with Combiner Wars is give you an updated version of something that you had as a kid. And I think that's all they were trying to do. They weren't trying to be too screen accurate. I think when you look at their stuff now in Earthrise and War for Cybertron Siege, they are trying to be at least a little bit more screen accurate in bot mode. You look at guys like the Earthrise Optimus Prime, Earthrise Cliffjumper, Siege Sideswipe, right? Granted, I know he's not the full Lamborghini because he's missing the spoiler, and oh no, but when you get him into bot mode, he looks fairly accurate to what he did on screen. So I think they are getting better at it. But again, it depends on what the designers at the time were going for. Combiner Wars, they weren't going for anything other than, we're going to give you brand new combiners with our latest combiner gimmick because we see you going out and spending $500+ on these third-party combiners. We're going to give you one over here for $120 and see which one you choose.
You're right about that, I guess. I mean, like, it's just aggravating to go to those, you know what I mean? Like, I have money I could spend. I could spend it on the internet, on a toy somewhere, or I could spend it at the store. And you go to the store, and it's like, it's almost like the internet's ruined it for everybody, because you are most certainly almost never going to be the first person with the figure. And like all you see the pre-announcements, you see the pre-orders, you see the thises and the that's, and you're like, oh my god, I want that. That looks awesome. You know, I remember being like that with Transmetal Rat Trap when his wheels could come out and stuff like that. I was like, man, I want that so bad. I remember being a kid being excited when I found it in the store. So, but nowadays it's like somebody gets their hands on the toy first, and then you watch them transform it, and you're like, that's it. Like that, like it's, you know, I feel like it's almost ruined that for everybody. Where you're like, all right, well, yeah, I sometimes I have to talk myself out of buying something because it's like I'll watch a review for it, and I'm like, oh, I really like how it does that, and like I'd like to buy that. Then I have to stop and be like, no, stupid, like just watch the, like, if I almost have to start telling myself, when you want to order something, give yourself a week. If you still want it in a week, then order it. because you just get like this like flight of fancy, like, oh, that's really neat. I like that one thing about this. And then you go to the store and you, oh look, here's all the, oh yeah, I remember that guy said he got the new GI Joes in and he snapped the arm off the one and this one won't stand up. Was his just a QC nightmare or are they all going to be that way? And then you put it down sadly and move on.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I don't think it's going to stop me from getting Snake Eyes personally, but everybody's different, right? We get so many opinions, so many reviewers, all of our friends, the people that we know that get everything for everybody else. But, I mean, there are figures. Cliffjumper was a good example for me. I saw Cliffjumper. I was like, he's $20. He's tiny. I'm not going to get him. I'm not going to waste the money. I ended up getting him because I liked the price point when I found him, and he's a great little figure. Is sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet, buy something that maybe you're not too interested in, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. The Decepticon Mirage, I'm not a fan of this Mirage. I like some of the things that they did with the Mirage. Like some of the fading on the paint is nice, but then they've got these scorch marks where, something's hit obviously, and it looks like they just threw a water balloon full of paint at it. So it's got its pluses and its minuses. I was like, I'm gonna get it. Worst case, I can return this one. It's only $20. I'm not out that much.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. I returned the one that I got because I had it for a day, and I was like, why did I do this? And back to the store it went.
So yeah, no, it's just like I said, the internet, like it's neat to be able to scratch that itch too, though. That you're like, I don't know if I really want this. Then you watch a review, and you're like, there's been plenty of them that I watch review, and I'm like, all right, that's like the Masterpiece Black Arachnia. Like, she's really cool, and I might pick up a Masterpiece Tarantulas down the road. You know what I mean? But then you watch the review, and you're like, I don't like the way that one little part looks. And you're like, all right, well then now I'm good. Like I've scratched the itch. I'm happy with my decision, and then you can just keep on moving.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that all? Is that all we got for toys this week?
Yeah, I think we've played that one to death.
Fair enough. All right. So let's move on to the wrestling, and we'll start off with the show that you and I watched. Lance, did either of you two watch it as well?
Backlash in your house?
Yeah, NXT in your house.
Oh no, I did not watch that.
I did not. You guys take the reins on this one.
Oh my God, I don't know. I question whether or not you guys are actual wrestling fans sometimes.
I'm not an empty arena fan. Let's just start there.
Okay, empty arena is fine. You know what, Nate? How much of the fact that NXT in your house did not have an empty arena had an impact on the show? Because I would argue it had no impact.
It was good. It was a good show, and they did have they're starting to do the thing that AEW does with the NXT talent, surrounding the ring. So you're getting a little bit of that ambiance back. I think it's dumb that they have the plexiglass up, especially when on Raw this past week, the guys are just going in the crowd anyway. So I think it's time to remove that plexiglass, and that would help not to dampen some of the sound that they make, and it would just keep adding to the feel of the matches, and it would help.
I don't disagree with you there, but again, I will reiterate that NXT TakeOver was so good that it did not need it didn't need a crowd. It was just that good. And I think that if we want to kind of go through the card like we usually do.
Yeah.
All right, let me just pull up the card real quick.
Well, I'll start here since I got it up already. When it comes to you, I always got it up.
Phrasing.
So first match was the 6-woman tag match. Mia Yim, Blackheart, Tegan Knox versus Candace, Dakota, and Raquel Gonzales. And as I recall, that was a pretty solid match.
It was very solid. I would say it's the weakest on the card, right? But I think one of the things that NXT does really well, similar to New Japan, is they build the card. So each match is just a little bit better and a little bit better until you get to the championship match or whatever they're going to do for the closing match.
Yeah.
Like you said, this was a good, solid match. I don't think there's really much coming out of this other than you have the continuing rivalry between LeRae and Yim. You've got Blackheart and Knox challenging for the women's tag titles this Wednesday. And you've got the kind of the continuing issues between Kai, Knox, and Gonzales.
Yeah.
But the storyline there wasn't too much.
I also enjoyed Tegan's gear for that match because she, for the first time in a long while, strayed away from her Captain Marvel motif and really leaned into her nickname, Lady Kane. And
I was actually watching something about it, and just to bring up a point, is that what she was wearing could have been either A, Lady Kane, which I think was our first inclination, but it could have also been Captain Marvel when she's powered up.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I mean, as I think back looking at it, it was more just kind of like black with like flames all around it. So I don't remember any of her having any of the Captain Marvel designs anymore on the gear. But that's a possibility.
Yeah, it was just something that somebody pointed out that I found interesting. I think that looking back on it, it could probably have gone either way, but it really doesn't matter. The match was good. It was solid. Let's move on.
Next was Finn Balor versus Damien Priest.
Go ahead.
Well, and I agree with you on Damien Priest in that, like, there's just what is he? Who is he? Like, there's a lack of character there. And like, who Finn Balor is. He brings a little something from like every promotion he's been in to create this character, and you know exactly who he is. Damien Priest is like this nightclub playboy archer who has like
infamy. What the fuck is that?
Yeah,
what is an archer of infamy?
Yeah. So
I mean, is he still in? Do you feel like his character's still in the developmental phase?
Very much.
That's what NXT is, but he's going to get that. He's going to shine that character to perfection, and then they're going to turn him into like Fandango. Once they bring him up to the main card.
Fandango is damn wonderful. If you don't watch a Fandango match and are not thoroughly enjoyed,
I just mean like how they changed his character away from what he was to what he was in.
He was wrestling. Wasn't he wrestling under his actual name in NXT?
I think he was for a bit. But yeah, his character in NXT was completely different from what we got at WrestleMania versus Chris Jericho.
No, and I'd argue Fandango went way more over than whoever he was, generic wrestler guy in NXT.
Yeah. I think, too, with Damian Priest is he reminds me kind of like Roman Reigns after the Shield first split, only without the fan backing right now.
Yeah.
He's definitely finding himself. I think once he does find himself, he'll be damn good. I know I watched
he's
him
so
in
much
Ring
fun
of
to
Honor
watch.
a couple of times.
Yeah, because he's so much fun to watch in the ring. It's just the character element takes away from that just enough to make you go, all right, this guy needs some work.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he does have a bright future, which is exactly why he's in NXT, like Wade said.
So Finn Balor won that match, as really no one was surprised there. Next we had Keith Lee and Gargano, and I was really looking forward to this match, and it didn't disappoint.
No, it did not. Not in the least. You would think that given the way they put Keith Lee over in general, especially in the weeks leading up to it, that it was going to be a squash match. But Balor played, not Balor, Gargano played the heel, the just quick enough to just get out of the way, slimy, dirty tactics heel. He played that to an absolute T. And this is from a guy who, when he came into NXT and for the first, 5 years in NXT, he was the baby face of NXT. He was
the babiest of baby faces. I mean,
absolutely.
He was squeaky clean, which is why, I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy what he's doing with his heel character, because it's good, but it's also kind of makes me chuckle, and maybe even makes me enjoy it a little more, knowing that Johnny Gargano, the person, will give you the shirt off his back, and it's just such a nice human being. So I find it an interesting dichotomy and fun to watch.
I completely agree. But sometimes some of the best characters are you taking, those elements of yourself that don't really come out, and then bringing those out and just doing a 180 from how you are as a person.
Or just another Jeff Hardy drunk and drugged up angle.
Oh, can we not talk about that yet? We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Let me revel in the wonderfulness that is NXT first, please.
Start positive. All right, gotcha.
Yeah. After that, we had Karrion Kross, formerly known as Damien Kross?
No, he was Killer Kross.
Kross. Okay.
I think it was Impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he took on Tommaso Ciampa. And once again, I mean, Ciampa always puts on great matches. He's fun to watch. Again, another person who, the guy himself is a wonderful human being, but I would say is even more successful at playing the heel character than Gargano.
He looks like a maniac.
Yeah, and he plays it. He plays it so well.
Did you guys catch the Twitter feud between him and Randy Orton and Randy Orton's wife?
Yep, I definitely caught that.
Idiots.
Now, interestingly enough, Ciampa lost this match at NXT, and Lance and I think that that's kind of him going out on his back in NXT to be sent up to the main roster.
So, it sounds like you didn't watch NXT the Wednesday after. On the Wednesday after, they had a WWE Network exclusive of quote unquote hours after TakeOver ended. Ciampa walking out and the person trying to get an interview with him, and Ciampa just walked out. He put his gear in his car, and he just drove off into the night. So I really do think that was Ciampa going either A, going out on his back, or B, coming back with a massive character change in a few months. But yeah, I think unfortunately Ciampa is done in NXT, and I think it's very likely that you'll see him pop up on either Raw or SmackDown.
I thought he purposefully asked to want to stay on NXT.
He did, and so did Gargano. But I think that the storyline between him and Gargano played into what was ultimately the decision of the WWE, which is they're going to keep Gargano down and bring Ciampa up.
I just Ciampa does not seem like I enjoy him as a wrestler. I enjoy his character. He does not seem like Vince's idea of what a main event guy, is. Just even his size, things like that. And I'm very sad to see him come up and just kind of get lost in the shuffle. What was the name of the group that Nikki Cross was in? They came up and they did 3 whole matches.
Sanity. Yeah,
they were like 3 whole matches and then they were just gone. Like, what the shit?
And it's I unfortunately think that Ciampa's going to get lost in the mid card with the main roster here.
I think that he can excel in the mid card if, and this is a big if, they don't dick around with things in too much. I don't think.
When have you known them not to really do that though?
Yeah, I know. I'm just praying for Ciampa right now, but I don't think that he'll ever. I think that he could potentially end up in the main event scene, but it won't be immediately, and it will take time to build that. I think that if you look at what's happening right now with the undercard titles, so your U.S. Championship, which is held by Apollo Crews right now, and your Intercontinental Championship held by Daniel Bryan, who's already said he's going to have an open challenge. I think that's where you could see him.
That was AJ Styles who
won. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Styles won it. So you could see him come up and with that mid-card title, that undercard title, be a damn good player for a number of years there. But I think he won't get that shot at the main event until after he's proven he can go on the big stage. And I worry about this. I worry about it because of, everybody that's gone up and where have they gone. And when we get to the championship match, the same thing will echo for me for Velveteen Dream too. These are guys that are really damn good. And, if we've seen anything recently, what the hell has happened to Bianca Belair? Has anybody seen Bianca Belair since the week after WrestleMania? Shayna Baszler. And Shayna Baszler is one of your top women's wrestlers, but here we are with another chapter in the Asuka Nia Jax saga. So,
or Charlotte Flair being in yet another she could if Charlotte Flair could just take 6 months off of wrestling and go on vacation, I'd be happy.
I agree with you to a certain extent, and I think that what she did with the women's title, which was basically use it like it was one of the territorial titles back in the day, and she took it to Raw and defended it on Raw. She took it to SmackDown, defended it on SmackDown. She defended it multiple times in NXT. I think that actually helped potentially to get more eyes on the NXT women's division, which, by the way, is the best women's division in wrestling. And I think it helped more than hurt. And I kind of liked the idea of having a championship that was defended across all brands. And with a better frequency and with better writing than, let's say, the women's tag championships. I enjoyed that, even though it was short. I enjoyed that run by Charlotte because I felt like it was elevating NXT as a whole rather than overshadowing them. I think it was getting more eyes on the product. Or at least it was an attempt to.
And I wanted you're talking about Ciampa being mid card. That it upsets me right now with the mid card. Like, they could have really put 2 mid card guys in the finals of the Intercontinental title. You know what I mean? But instead, it was 2 former world champions. You know, like that, to me, that just seems like such a wasted opportunity to just put the belt on somebody.
So let me ask you this then. So what do you feel about John Cena's run as the U.S. champ, where he had the Open Championship challenge?
Well, a weekly challenge is a different thing because then you get to spotlight somebody every single week. Now, if that's what AJ Styles is going to do, excuse me, then great. What I'm saying is when you have people that are white hot in NXT, WWE brings them up and they just languish in the mid cards. Like, that right there was the perfect opportunity to, like, bring somebody up. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
have the Intercontinental title brackets be like a current Legends side, like a current WWE roster side, and like an NXT roster side. And then, like, the NXT roster fights itself, the WWE roster fights itself, and the finals could have been like AJ Styles versus a Velveteen Dream or something. You know what I mean? Like, something.
So sort of like NXT did then with their Cruiserweight Championship Open, where you had some 205 Live guys, you had 205 Live originals, you had a couple of guys that had come in later, you had Drake Maverick, and then you had a couple more guys in Jake Atlas and El Hijo de Fantasma, who later changed his name, and is apparently the head of the Hispanic Dark Order, or the Lucha Dark Order in NXT. But those guys come in, and those are new, fresh guys, and you have a mix of existing talent, talent that's, you know, kind of on the cusp, and new talent. So something like that would have probably worked better for you if they took it to and redid that championship in that way.
Right. And your original question about Cena was more believable because Cena would be the one to lose to Carlito Caribbean Cool or your Kevin Owens on a random Monday night. You know what I mean? Like, Cena not only was a guy that was okay with losing, I think he, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? He championed for it. Like, you're going to lose now. He wasn't like, all right. He was more like, no, I think I should lose the belt to this guy tonight on his debut.
I feel like the Nexus would disagree, but I do think that as Cena became an elder statesman in wrestling, I think he did learn that lesson where he wanted to put people over. But prior to that, yeah, the Nexus would absolutely disagree with you.
And I think the Nexus was just brought up to be a heel feud for John Cena. I don't think it was meant to be anything else.
You know what? They were going into that match. They were the hottest act in WWE. Regardless of what it was meant to be, they were the hottest act in WWE. And they were actually booked originally to win that match. They were going over John Cena until somebody, John Cena, went to Vince McMahon and talked him out of it.
See, and then I think that they struck gold again when they reformed the Nexus and they made CM Punk the leader. Like, CM Punk could could take anything and turn into gold. You know what I mean? Like that was a golden opportunity, and they just squandered it. That he's the leader of the Nexus. And they're like, all right, and they're just, no, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. I think though that while they had that chance with the IC title, you know, they wanted to, because AJ Styles has already said he's only working the remainder of this contract with WWE and then he's done. I think what they decided to do was give him the title because that was the one title he had not had yet. So that way he gets the Grand Slam before he leaves.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's the right decision, I don't know. I certainly am not against it. It's AJ frickin' Styles. But yeah, they could have put over some more young talent like Heyman did when he gave the belt to Apollo Crews, who's not really quote-unquote young talent, but he's definitely a talent that's been overlooked for a long time.
And when's the last time? I mean, it should not happen all the time. But when's the last time a talent that was white hot, like, you know, like the last time I can remember is when Kevin Owens, didn't he come in and win his debut in the U.S. title match against John Cena?
Yeah.
Like, and he was, and I loved that angle because he was still NXT champion at that point.
You know what I mean? But like to me, that's just like, you know, somebody like Ciampa, Ciampa, whatever, however you say his name, he's so over. You know what I mean? Like, have him come in and just like destroy somebody. Have him come in and, like, you know what I mean, beat the brakes off of somebody, and
not just like a squash match with an unknown. Have him, you know, have somebody really put him over.
No, I mean, what I'm talking about is like something like AJ Styles goes to do his U.S. title. His Intercontinental title weekly defense, and he gets jumped backstage by somebody. Well, then he's still going to be the champ. He's still going to be the trooper and come out and try to wrestle injured. And then like someone like Ciampa comes out and just beats the dog shit out of him.
That's sort of what, but that's sort of what I'm saying. You have somebody really well established put Ciampa over and really establish that he is a player in the game and not just someone to be overlooked.
You know, like that's how I feel like if and when Finn Balor goes back to the main roster, like I wonder where they're going to put him. You know, because he in my opinion, he was in like the lower tier mid card before he decided he has to go back to NXT, or we got sent back to NXT, however you want to say it. Like they just didn't have stuff for him.
I don't know that Balor's going back to the main roster, to be perfectly honest with you. I really think their plans before, you know, the world shut down for months was to take Balor and make him the United Kingdom champion and try to put that territory over and try to get it on the map and try to get more eyes on it. Because if you tell, you know, the UK, hey, Finn Balor's going to be here, Finn Balor's back, like, they're going to watch because he's arguably I would say he's probably one of, if not the most popular wrestlers of all time to come out of the British Isles.
Right. But I mean, I digress. Like I said, it's just something that I wish that I wish I could pick Vince McMahon's brain as to why he makes decisions. Like a lot of times he makes the right decisions, but sometimes he seems so far off base.
Yeah.
That I don't get like what his line of thinking is.
I think we're all like that.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to know his reasoning behind some stuff. You know, I think Finn should eventually have his moment in the sun and get another title reign. You know, I get where Lance is coming from by putting the UK championship on him, but I don't know. In my mind, I look at the UK title kind of like the European title. Like it's just, you know, it's it's glorified mid card, and
Ooh,
and
I
that's
don't
just
know. Have you watched a lot of NXT UK?
not a ton. I know how good Walter and that kind of faction of people he has
Imperium.
been. Yeah, Imperium. And I know what they want to give that a world champion feel. And they haven't been unsuccessful with it, that's for sure.
But I mean, I can see something like Balor. Balor's the perfect size and character to like wrestle the Undertaker at. The Undertaker, Finn Balor could make a 60-year-old Undertaker look like gold in the ring.
It's funny you say that because I have 2 wrestling figures on my desk right now, and that is the Taker. That is Taker with Balor slung on his shoulder like he's setting him up for the tombstone.
That's awesome. All right, so let's go on with the rest of the card, right? Because we're only at Lee and Gargano. Or no, we made it.
No, we talked about Cross and Ciampa.
We jumped, but we had Cole and Velveteen Dream in their backlot brawl.
Oh yeah. For totally.
How could you forget that? Dream comes out dressed like Dave Chappelle's Negan. And it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of the camera work was kind of.
I'm not sure it was Dave Chappelle's Negan. I think it was Velveteen Dream's Negan. Because
okay, that's fair.
But yes, it was. That was fantastic. It was another one of those taped segments, and there was a lot of production thrown behind it, and.
I gotta say, like WWE is really doing a damn good job with those segments when they come.
They're leaning into it hard, and they're doing a great job with it. And,
as long as they don't switch the camera angle every second and a half, sometimes they get a little crazy with that. But past that, the production's awesome.
Yeah, and it was that same production value. And Cole retained his championship. It was a hell of a match. The way they had like them fighting in like a circle of cars reminded me so much of the old like Raw versus SmackDown 2006, 7, 8
video game.
Yeah, all those. Whenever you'd go backstage, like do a backstage, hardcore match. That's where they put you. They put you in a parking garage surrounded by cars that you could interact with. So it gave me a feel of nostalgia there, which was pretty cool.
Do we have any feeling that Adam Cole is going to get moved up anytime soon?
No, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, they still need to. I don't know. I guess we need to see where Undisputed Era goes here. I honestly think that if he's moved up, they all have to move up, because Undisputed Era is the closest thing we've had to a really solid faction. Since your days of like Nexus and NWO and DX and they can do a lot with it. They just need to keep it together. I think like Sanity just kind of fell apart because you didn't really have well-established characters in those. They were all just kind of badasses that came together. They all acted insane, and they kicked ass in their match, and that was about it that you knew about them. You have tag team experts in Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. You have a really good character with backbreaker specialist there. His name's escaping me. Roderick Strong. Yeah, he was and still is one of my favorites to watch. And then of course you have the ringleader, Adam Cole. I mean, he has all of his time at New Japan behind him, and so you have a really solid faction there that they can really write good stuff with.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if you take Adam Cole up, you need to have the rest of Undisputed go up with him. I don't think that you can have the rest of Undisputed continue on in NXT without him. And on top of that, too, the different styles that they bring, it's so fun to watch. Especially, I have to say, Fish and O'Reilly are probably one of my favorite tag teams of all time. Just the way that they're able to play off of each other, the way that they have a almost CM Punk-esque style in the ring, where they do a lot of that leans on their. I think one of them has a Muay Thai background, and I forget what the other one has. But they're just fantastic. O'Reilly in particular is I don't think I've ever watched a match with Kyle O'Reilly and been bored or not entertained.
Yeah, and I also like that it's also completely interchangeable when you had to throw Roderick Strong in there.
Freebird rule.
They just, whenever one of them was injured, he'd step in, and nobody was missing a beat.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It feels like Adam Cole's been champion for like the proper, like not the proper, but like the amount of time that it's about time that he shit or get off the pot, for lack of a better term.
Well, he's been the champion now for over a year. He's the longest reigning NXT champion in history. He eclipsed Balor's reign. I don't know. I don't know if you look at NXT now and you say, okay, like, when are you going up in all cases? Because I still don't think it's a matter of going up in all cases.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Lance. Like, so Wade, it sounds like you're looking at NXT still as just the developmental brand, and not necessarily the third brand that they're trying to rebrand it
as. And that's part of it. But what I'm saying is, like, the guy that's the champion at NXT, you get hired by the WWE to go to NXT to make the main card. That's basically the path most of these people want to travel, if not all of them. You know what I mean? So you've been the NXT champion, you've been the top of the small, you've been the king of the anthill for over a year now. You know what I mean? Like, you're making the best of it, but like, so the people in charge of NXT see the most value in you and have made you their champion for over a year. So then, like, it just, at what point do you look and say, okay, well, you've had me ruling the roost here for over a year. At what point do I make the leap to the next part? Because, if I were the champion and I wanted to move up, but they weren't moving me up and they were just moving people up around me, you know what I mean? Like, that almost feels disrespectful. But I mean, like,
and I see where your opinion is coming from, but again, I think WWE is trying to remarket NXT as it's not the anthill at the foot of the mountain. It is the equal peak of the mountain.
When NXT mainlines WrestleMania, then we'll talk. But they're never going to.
No, but I'm saying, like, I see where you're coming from there, and I don't think WWE has done the best job at trying to make it seem like NXT is like on equal footing with Raw and SmackDown.
I'm gonna slightly disagree, because if you look at storylines when they when they started to push NXT as being the equal brand, right? They had most recently the Charlotte Flair going around to every brand. And yeah, Charlotte Flair was kicking everybody's ass on every brand as the NXT champion. Then you go back to September when they first started making NXT mainstream. What were the first two things that happened after that? Well, we had that issue with Saudi where everybody got trapped. And then, oh, hey, in a pinch, we fly in the NXT guys, and the NXT guys start showing up on Raw and SmackDown, kicking everybody's ass. Then you have Survivor Series, which I know sometimes we get a little creative with how things go down in Survivor Series. Like, we don't count the pre-show matches as an actual match, even though we say that we do on the pre-show. But at the end of the day, NXT won in the Survivor Series matches. They might not have won the men's Survivor Series, but they won the matches in the night overall.
Okay, but here's the thing. In what I was saying, at least, I think that NXT is putting on a better product than most of the main brands. I just still feel like the way that
marketing and promotion behind it.
Exactly. They're not. They tried, and I don't think have been successful as marketing it as that third equal brand.
All right, I can see that, but at the same time too, we can't say it's necessarily not been as successful, because if you look at it this way, right? WWE essentially just started a new show when they brought NXT out on USA. When you start a new show, it's not going to take off right away. And hell, NXT on USA isn't even a year old yet. But it is, week in, week out, pretty much holding its own against WWE's main competition. And that's the quote-unquote development brand, or that third brand that people are looking at. And it's most weeks doing numbers that are close to WWE's main competition. Whereas Raw's viewership is still falling. SmackDown's viewership, I think, is holding steady. But I think it really speaks to the growth of NXT in general, because NXT is still drawing, I want to say, between like 700,000 and 1 million viewers each week, whereas, AEW, for instance, is drawing like 1 million to 1.2 million, and in I think the most recent couple of weeks, the combined viewership for both NXT and the AEW is beaten Raw, which is part of the reason probably Heyman got demoted back to just on-screen talent. But I don't know that you can just blanket and say it's or expect it to be as immediately successful as two very well-established shows.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. So, yeah, we've kind of gone over the whole third match. I mean, we haven't gone over the specifics of the third match, but yeah, I mean, Charlotte third. I meant final. Io Shirai defeated Flair and Ripley in the triple threat match. So that whole traveling champion thing is done. So yeah, NXT in your house, solid show. I can't say I remember the finish too much from the final match because there was a lot of bourbon that night.
There was, but I can tell you what it is because I do remember it somehow. So Flair has Ripley in the figure eight, and then Shirai goes up and hits her moonsault onto Ripley while Ripley's in the figure eight, then covers Ripley for the 1-2-3 while she's still in the figure eight. So Ripley took the pin. Charlotte still didn't take the pin, and I think we're probably going to see that vacation that Wade wants for Charlotte at this point.
Yep.
But Shirai put on one hell of a performance.
And that's all I've watched until Backlash last night. So I don't know if any of you guys want to talk about the Go Home show for Backlash at all, or if there's anything in that week you want to mention.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't think anything catastrophic. Well, no. So the one thing that I will mention about the Go Home show, at least from the SmackDown perspective for Backlash, was the title match between AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship. That culmination of that tournament was friggin' phenomenal. It took up probably about the middle third of the show at least, and it damn well should have. That match was awesome. That match was insane. I gotta say, watching it was a thing of beauty. The ending to that match was Daniel Bryan going to hit the running knee, but Styles catching Bryan in midair and turning it into the Styles Clash. Just the number of silky smooth reversals that they both did. And it started out very much like a Bryan match where it was very mat-based, and Styles went with Bryan hold for hold. Then it transitioned into more of a wrestling match, and then it ended phenomenally. It was a damn good match.
That's the one they were advertising as the greatest match ever, right?
Well, no, that was supposed to... Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, it ended up being one of, but...
Yeah, and that's like what? That's like the second or third time Styles and Bryan have faced each other, and they always put on somewhat of a classic whenever they face each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw highlights of the match. I didn't watch the whole thing through, but I mean, once I knew those two were fighting, I knew it was going to be a good match no matter what. So I guess that brings us to Backlash proper then.
All right. Do you want to run down the card?
Sure. One sec. I did not watch any of the pre-show.
I'm fairly certain there was only like one match on the pre-show.
I'm looking it up right now. Oh yeah, it was Andrade and Apollo.
And Apollo Crews, which was I mean, it was an Andrade match, right? You know it's going to be good. Apollo Crews and Andrade went at it. There was some shenanigans that led to Crews winning, that now there's a budding rivalry between Andrade and Angel Garza. But yeah, damn good match.
Yeah.
Is Crews also in the middle of like a heel turn? Kind of.
I don't know. I think maybe
we had heard rumors of that, and now it just seems like no.
I just mean he's a little douchey. You know what I mean? Like he's not doing anything bad or evil.
I think he's more of a tweener right now, but I think that's a good thing for him, because before he was just the guy that came out and smiled and had a good time and was just happy to be here. Now he's got a little bit more of an edge.
The opposite of what they do with the New Day.
Say again? I
said the opposite of what they did to the New Day. The New Day was supposed to come out and be like, you know what I mean? They were supposed to be a pretty serious thing, and then they turned silly super quick.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, sort of, kind of, in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there was some interference with Kevin Owens in the match that kind of added to stuff going down, and so
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so that was that match. I didn't see that one. Then the event kicks off, and we have Sasha Banks and Karen versus the Iconics and Nikki Cross and Bliss.
That's not her name, and you know it.
Oh, she's totally a Karen.
I believe Nikki Cross actually in her promo from last SmackDown referred to her as Karen as well.
Thank God somebody did it.
It's catching on. There's a movement.
Yeah.
Rename Bayley to Karen.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice to see Iconics back doing a thing. Man, Sean Spears is a lucky man.
I think my biggest thing about this is I like Sasha and Bayley getting the tag champions back and retaining.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that it takes the women's title kind of out of play for a bit, but I like that the tag titles are being pushed to the forefront, and it looks like, based on what's happening on Wednesday when we talked about it earlier on NXT, that WWE is finally giving Sasha and Bayley the opportunity to do what they wanted to do in the first place, which was basically make that a territorial championship by going and defending it on all three brands. You didn't really have it defended on all three brands much prior to that. I think the Iconics may have had about one match on NXT for it. But you know, the first stop for those two as champions,
and it's
being NXT, and I like that.
And as you said, you know, the women's titles being kind of pushed aside for a minute, and that's, I think, one thing that's kind of annoying me about the writing right now is it's either one or the other. They can't. They're not successfully showcasing both as they both should be.
But with WWE, with having so many titles, can they actually do that for every title?
For every title, I guess not. But I mean, you only have three technically in the women's division, so it's not that hard.
I mean, I'm not saying that it is, but to Wade's point earlier, or that when we've talked previously, right? There's only so much quality to go around, right? Mm-hmm. And then it becomes, you've got reduced rosters right now. Who is it that you would take and make women's champion on the SmackDown roster? Because that's the next question you have to ask. If not Bayley or Sasha, then who?
Yeah.
You know, I would argue that there's, right now, as it stands right at this moment, I don't think that there's somebody else who can carry it. You do have former champions on there. Alexa Bliss, she could probably take that champion. If she went heel again and took the championship off of Bayley, she could probably carry it. You have Carmella, who is a previous women's champion. I don't know that anybody would be super excited about a Carmella championship run other than Corey Graves. I would say that, and that's not to say that Carmella isn't a good wrestler or isn't a skilled performer. It's more that she hasn't had the screen time recently, and there's not enough fan support for it, or you know, she hasn't built up enough heat. I think that you could potentially, and I guess this is where it may go, we'll see, but Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville could eventually feud over the title, but then one of them has to get it off of Bayley. So I don't know that either Mandy or Sonya are there yet. I think personally, I would like to probably see a Sonya run. But then you also have Lacey Evans on the roster, who has been close but has never actually won the title. So you could potentially build to that. But you have to choose which one of those stories you're going to take and you're going to build on. And I think, as kind of is fairly common, creative doesn't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, not start all those stories at once and see which one kind of gains traction first and then just abandon everybody else.
Yeah.
Because that seems a very common move by the writing team. It's just, let's just throw everything against the wall, see what sticks, and go from there.
And then, if it doesn't work, then we'll just do an 8-woman tag match. What is that? That's not getting... Yeah, that's what's aggravating, especially with the women's division. All right, well, we're going to have Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks. What about everybody else? I don't know, 10-women tag match. Yeah, whatever, book it. You're not doing anybody any favors that way.
No.
Oh, I mean, they do that fairly with a fairly consistent, thing with the men too. They do that fairly consistently with the men. It's just that there are more men in the profession than there are women.
There's also more men's belts.
Yes, there are also more men's belts, but I think you see that treatment commonly with the men too. I think it's just a very easy fallback for WWE. And hell, they use it. They use it a lot, and it is what it is.
Yeah. So after that opening match there, we had Hardy versus Sheamus. This one I didn't pay too much attention to because,
you were still distracted by the build-up to it with the pee in the face.
Yeah, and both of these guys, I think, are kind of on the. They're definitely on the back nine of their career. Not that that's a bad thing in any way, but I don't know. I just was not really invested in it that much. So this was my get food pee break, sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Just seeing it reminded me of CM Drunk. Remember that? With Jericho.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was just kind of a throwaway match. I wasn't really invested in it. I think they were counting on more of a nostalgia pop for Hardy than maybe he's got left.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess we'll see. He wants to finish out his career with WWE. Matt still wants to keep going, and that is what it is.
Yep. All right, Lance. Run us through the women's championship match because my bladder's about to explode.
Okay, women's championship match was Asuka versus everybody's favorite Nia Jax, and this match lasted about 8 minutes 25 seconds, and that was 8 minutes and 24 seconds longer than my attention span was for this match. We knew Asuka was going to win it going into this. I feel bad for her because right now it doesn't seem like she has a legitimate challenger, despite them trying to play on Nia's recklessness or perceived recklessness in the ring. I'm not going to say that it's absolute recklessness in the ring because I am not a trained wrestler. I'm not qualified to make that judgment. I can say that every time people get in the ring with her, especially if your name is Kairi Sane, it looks like you get hurt. I don't know. This match was kind of okay. Asuka obviously won it. And again, I think that Asuka doesn't really have a challenger on Raw. I think it's a very similar situation to Bayley on SmackDown. if not Asuka, who. I think that they did have the potential there with Shayna Baszler. But
she's just disappeared.
Yeah, after WrestleMania, she lost to Becky Lynch, and then she came in some promos and ripped Becky for being pregnant, which was, okay, great. You're getting some really good heel heat there with that, because people aren't going to like you if you're ripping on a pregnant woman. And then it never amounted to anything.
You think they're going to put Asuka against Charlotte Flair now that they don't have Charlotte Flair, like, in something?
No, I think we've done that one to death. I think what they need to do, they've done that one to death. Like, they have epic matches. I'm not complaining about the quality of their matches. I'm just saying, you either need to build up I think what they need to do is build up a new challenger. I think that challenger needs to be Shayna Baszler. You put so much focus on her when she came in before the Royal Rumble, all the way then to have her just pretty much disappear after WrestleMania. I don't understand. Could she be hurt? Maybe. I don't know. WWE isn't the NFL. I don't get injury reports. If she is hurt, then that would be kind of surprising to me, because I follow her on Instagram and I watch her in her workout videos that she posts there. Like, I don't know what's hurt if she's hurt.
Do you think that they're going to start pushing, like, with everything that's going on in the world right now, politics and otherwise, WWE seems like they're starting to push the LGBTQ aspect of Sonya Deville's personal life. Do you know what I mean? So, like, they're the WWE is the strike while the iron's hot kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that they might start to build her up. Hopefully they don't do it like they did. What was his name? Who was the guy that was with Titus O'Neil?
Oh, yeah.
Darren Young?
Darren Young, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was the first
Cena.
proudly out gay wrestler or whatever, and then, like, it's like WWE doesn't, like, they ham that up for a little bit, and then once they bleed it dry, they're like, all right, we don't have nothing for you. Like, what do you mean you don't have nothing for me?
We actually, Wade, I don't think you had joined us yet in the podcast, but we actually had a conversation about this, and Darren Young was a specific example of this.
Yep.
And the conversation was more along the lines of how would they handle it, and I think I think all the more power to the WWE if they want to do it. Just let the superstars kind of have some control over how much they want to do. Like as I said when we first had this conversation, if they have Darren Young come out puking rainbows, cool, as long as that's his choice and not creative going, hey, you're gay, let's make you a joke,
throw you out there, like,
yeah,
a caricature. Let's make you look
like the New Day,
right?
But
you said a female contender needs to be in the wings, and I feel like Sonya Deville, maybe Mandy Rose, like, but Sonya Deville more so. Like, while she's putting on, the whole thing, the split with Mandy Rose, she proves she can kind of do the drama thing, but then also they're pushing this other aspect of her. Like, it just seems like they're trying to put all the pieces together for her.
And they should be, because if you look at her background, if you're gonna have, so I don't know anybody else's private life in WWE unless they've been public about it, right? So we know that she's the only openly gay woman in WWE right now. She's a former MMA fighter who turned wrestler, who's now proven that she can do the drama stuff and she can damn sure go in the ring. And yeah, she happens to be openly gay. Like, if you're going to push somebody, push her. Like, if you're going to do it for that reason.
Just described her or Shayna Baszler, because if I remember Shayna Baszler and maybe in the Ultimate Fighter or something like that, like, she's never had a boyfriend or a husband.
She hasn't that I know of, but that doesn't necessarily she may be gay, but I don't think it's
MMA.
It's the thing.
MMA fighter turned wrestler, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like, all right, well, like I'm a legitimate MMA fighter turned wrestler, and I mean, like I'm a little androgynous right now about my sexuality, and they're like, all right, well, this girl over here does it, and we kind of want to see where she goes with it, and that kind of sucks if somebody not purposefully steals your character, but I mean, like, steals.
But that's the thing. I don't think. If you look at their characters, I think Sonya has always had that as part of her character. I don't think Shayna has had her sexuality as part of her character at all, because her character is just, I am this legitimate badass, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to kick the shit out of you. Think of it almost like female Brock Lesnar.
Right, no, I get that. But what I'm saying is that the character, it's almost like if you take sexuality out of it, they're the same character. They have the same, like
they have a similar background. Yeah.
They were trying to do it with Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar. Like, oh, here comes the guy that beat Brock Lesnar in the Octagon, and Cain Velasquez just couldn't hack it. Like it's like, what are you doing? Like so you're turning into the UFC. You're just bringing all these former MMA fighters, like Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey, great. Shayna Baszler, good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then it's like, all right, well, how many more are you going to bring in? Talk about how dangerous they are when they couldn't hack it in the real fights.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's a perfect answer to it. They have similar backgrounds. Yeah, I think that they portray themselves differently. Whereas Baszler, I think, is more vicious.
Right.
Sonya is more. I don't want to saying she's less vicious. Kind of just doesn't feel right. She's not as intense.
Yes.
She's just toned down a bit. But yeah, it's still, you're still in that place though where, at least for Asuka, so circling back to where we started, you're still in that place with Asuka where nobody knows. I don't think that they have a comfort level as to where the next challenger will be coming from, and I think that's the issue with a lot of the women right now, at least with Bayley and Sasha for the women's titles. They're like, oh, we're going to take this break and go to SmackDown. And I think that's probably where we'll see things headed in the future, in just trying to, because another rumor I heard is that they're going to do away with the brand split again.
I sincerely hope so.
So that'll be interesting in that it'll open it up. And then if you do away with the brand split again, please, for the love of everything, just make all the titles like this giant territorial melee thing. All the titles can be defended anywhere. I'd like to see Apollo Crews go back to NXT and Apollo Crews defend the US title. I want to see the NXT championship defended on Raw or SmackDown. I want to see like a triple threat between the tag team champions on each brand. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, well, if they do away with the brand split, then I want unification between the tag champions. If they want to keep both the World Heavyweight and Universal Championship going, that's fine, because even after the end of the first brand split, you still had the WWE and the World Heavyweight Championship defended separately, so fine with that. But yeah, there needs to be some unification among the brand splits. There's got to be a unification. I really think there's got to be a unification of the women's championship. But yeah, defend it all over the place.
Yeah, I want to see if you're gonna do away with the brand split. I wouldn't mind keeping all of the men's titles the same, across Raw and SmackDown. I like the fact that NXT has their own titles. So what you do is you let the NXT, they still only have the Women's Championship. Keep that. Raw and SmackDown get one Women's World title and then the tag titles. And then that becomes a territorial system. And just let that happen.
Yep. Yeah. So are we onto the Universal Championship match now?
Do we have to? Can we skip that one?
Yeah, I mean, the build-up that they did with Miz and Morrison was entertaining to watch, but yes, the match itself was dumb.
Yep.
And we'll say, yeah. McIntyre, Lashley.
Meh.
Well, I mean, what can you say about the match other than it's two big guys going at each other? Obviously, there were some big spots, but nothing crazy and
Innovative.
Say again?
I mean,
I said nothing innovative.
Exactly. Yeah.
the storyline fallout from that, though, is now Bobby Lashley and Lana are getting a divorce. Are we all shocked?
No.
Terribly.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I thought those two kids were really going to make it.
I mean, it's not like she's married to anybody else or anything.
Rusev Matska. Anyway.
On to the greatest wrestling match ever.
Actually, no, we got to do one more thing before that, and that is, what in the actual fuck did I watch?
That was the most entertaining thing, I think, of the night. Don't get me wrong. The next match, fantastic. Whatever the hell happened.
But yes, sheer entertainment. I still am trying to wrap my head. I'm fairly convinced that Vince last week watched a bunch of the Fast and Furious movies and was like, oh, we got Asian guys on bikes and Yakuza and oh, this is good shit.
I mean, that pretty much sums it up. He and Bruce Pritchard got together, smoked a shit ton of weed.
Yep.
And watched Fast and the Furious, and that's how that came along. And you know what? I'm not complaining. The only complaint, if I'm going to make any complaint at all, the only complaint that I'm going to make is Tozawa being stereotypically typecast to the point of where I was having flashbacks of maybe Mr. Fuji, that mild hint of racism without being overt. But it was damn sure enjoyable. Oh, yeah, and the way they skirted around using the N-word by having the big ninja.
Yep.
Vince is like, I got it. We'll call him the big ninja. Get it? You get it? Guys, did you get what I'm saying?
Such good shit.
They're going to love it. We're going to get so much heat for this. People are going to watch it. It was... I don't even know what the fuck happened in that match or that vignette, but it was fantastic.
Yep.
I mean, it was just Avengers meets Lethal Weapon in the Star Wars dumpster with ninjas on motorcycles.
And everyone telling Ivar that he's cute and the other one not.
Well, that was the whole build up to it. So what I will say though, if we're gonna go and look at it from like a story perspective, right? The Street Profits and the Viking Raiders were having the anything you can do, I can do better kind of one-upsmanship thing.
Great television every week. Pretty funny.
It really was. It was done well. And the question is, how do you pay that off? Because there's got to be a match at some point, right? This is a great way for them to delay that match, but still make it entertaining and keep you interested in it. I thought it was really, really well done. the follow-up on Raw with the 8-man tag between the Ninjas and the Viking Prophets, and the Big Ninja getting involved again, and Big Show coming out was, again, very comical, very well done. But I think, the payoff for all of this is we're finally going to get a match. And I think they've done a really, really good job of building to that match without having a series of actual matches. It was a completely alternate way to build to that match, and I think they've done it really well.
I'd agree. Do we have any idea who this Big Ninja guy is? I mean, when I first saw it at Backlash, I initially thought, oh, that's probably Titus O'Neil. But after getting a better look at the guy and like his frame and everything, I'm fairly certain it's not.
The Bleacher Report said who it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now.
Performance Center recruit Jordan Omogbihin.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the NXT guys, I'm still waiting for him to come up to like the NXT proper show. I know he's been doing Evolve and all that stuff. Is Bubba Tunde, and I follow him on Instagram. He's fun to watch. It looks like he's getting better and better in the ring. So I look forward to that. But yeah, that was, again, I had to pause for a second and just really try to figure out what I just watched. And then we went on to the quote unquote greatest wrestling match ever. And CBS Sports gives this match an A+. I don't know about that.
So I think there's two things that we can do right. Is it the greatest wrestling match ever? The answer to that, I think, is no. But B, is it a damn good match?
Yeah, it was a good match.
It was a damn good match.
I think somebody said on Reddit that they keep marketing it as that, so then that way it's trademarked. But every time you Google greatest wrestling match, the WWE is going to be your top result. Like it's a smart business move against AEW.
I guess that's fair.
All right, I can kind of see that.
So I'm a big fan of the current announcer that they have right now, Greg Hamilton. Especially if you watch his interview with Chris Van Vliet. He's a very articulate, smart guy, and it's just fun to watch him and Chris, who have had a very similar background, kind of play off each other in the interview. So I guess I feel like that the Howard Finkel introductions that were recorded was not necessarily needed. I know it was paying homage to him, and that's fine, I guess.
The piping crowd noise didn't help either.
Yeah, there was the fake crowd noise didn't help me, didn't help get you into the match anymore. I chuckled at Charles Robinson being in the old, WCW ref gear. And
they didn't have him come out in the scissor lifts that look like little rings?
No, they did not have that. But I mean, again, it was a really good match. It had a lot of great spots. I thought the
fan service.
But
there was a lot of fan service.
But that's
okay.
what was. Here's the thing: it was a lot of fan service. It was a spot fest, and at some point, there were some areas of the match where I just kind of had to. I just started either, browsing my phone or something like that because it was like, okay, this is like getting painfully slow. I think it was a little longer than it needed to be. The finish was great. I'm fine with Orton, taking it. It's a shame that Edge got hurt during it, but it sounds like he's going to get surgery and is going to be able to keep going. Because it was not detrimental like his neck stuff has been. I will say it was very interesting to watch Randy work the match because he was protecting Edge in some obvious ways, and because he was doing some of his classic moves very, very differently than he usually gives them.
A little gingerly.
Yeah. So it was definitely nice to see, Randy doing his due diligence to, really make sure to protect Edge, especially with this being his, first big in-ring match.
Didn't give him like he did one of the Singh brothers where he just scooped him up and flipped him over on top of his fucking head.
Yeah.
So yes, good match. Greatest? Far from it.
How dare you?
Well, yeah.
Remember that scene in Elf where he's got her blindfolded and he's like, "You know what that is?" And she's like, "Tastes like a crummy cup of coffee." And takes the mask off. He's like, "No, it's the world's best cup of coffee." And he like points to the side.
Yeah. So that was backlash. I'm in the middle of finishing up. Before we started up, I was in the middle of finishing Raw. So I'm right at, pretty much right at where the Christian return is about to happen. And I've pretty much heard what happens at the end of the episode anyway. So yeah. I think tonight I'm gonna watch the next 2 episodes of Last Ride. And that's all I got for wrestling for these past 2 weeks. Anybody else?
You totally glossed over where Drew McIntyre and R-Truth finally teamed up on Raw, right?
Oh yeah, because I've been waiting for that for so long.
The stars aligned.
You know what? Well, and I was actually while you guys were talking, I just had Raw on mute watching that match. And I'll tell you, I am a Ron Killings mark. I mean, dude's been around for a long, long time. Reinvented himself many times. He's been from the lowest of the bottom card to NWA champion. He's had such a great career. And I really do think that if they decided to just switch it up, have him go serious, which I don't think they do, because you know what? He's killing it right now with his current gimmick. But if they ever wanted to take a more serious route with him and actually get him, not necessarily put the strap on him, but at least get him in title contention, I sure as shit know he could do it. So it really is always enjoyable watching him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong. Ron Killings is one of the best of all time. He's sort of Jericho-esque in that he can adapt to anything, anywhere, anytime.
And he never really goes backwards with his gimmicks. He's not. Thankfully, I say thankfully, I think it's to his benefit. He hasn't had any one particular thing besides this current gimmick that is stuck way too much. So Jericho always said he never wanted to come out for the nostalgia pop. He always wanted it to be new and different. Even if it was just a tweak on something old, he still wanted it to be different. And I think Killings has not had one particular thing that stuck so well that people are looking for a nostalgia pop from him.
His WWE run in the past however many years, it's not, I get it, he doesn't suffer from it because he embraces it, but it's almost like the crowd expects silliness out of him and not seriousness. So like it works so much in his favor.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like like when he comes out, you're going to expect to laugh. It's not going to be any cringe. It's not going to be anything super serious. Like it's nice. It's nice. Little Jimmy when he beat up little invisible little Jimmy in the ring. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I think that's where he excels where other people don't, is because when somebody tries comedy, like the crowd does not expect comedy. But like when R-Truth's music hits, that's what you come to expect, and that's
you
why
expect to sing along with them and to laugh a bit, and have the 24/7 7-Eleven European Championship.
Yeah, I'm coming for you, Tom Brady.
I think you mean Rob Gronkowski. Whatever.
Yeah, no,
he's lovely. So yeah, yes, I did thoroughly enjoy that. Especially the finish of the match where he essentially like body pressed R-Truth and just threw him down on MVP to get the pin.
Yeah, that was good.
Speaking of like MVP for not being in WWE for a number of years and being older in age, like he seems to be thriving. Like it's I almost feel like he's contracted on a week by week basis. That's what it feels like. But like,
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he was ever since he left, he was on the Indies for the past 10 years. I don't know what prompted the WWE to go, this would be a great time for him to come back.
Well, didn't it start at the Rumble with just the...
Yeah, it started at the Rumble with just the appearance, and maybe they thought, okay, well, this went over way better than we expected.
Well, I think originally he was going to come back and he was supposed to work in backstage as a producer. But I don't know that ended up coming to fruition with what happened a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
So I think what they did is they just said, all right, we're going to keep you as an on-screen talent. And, I don't think anybody has a problem with it. I think he's been doing really well. I want to see where this thing with Apollo Crews goes, because Monday he tried to talk Apollo Crews into his stable. So yeah, I think that's going to be real interesting to see what happens, especially the fallout from the Lana Lashley thing.
Yeah. We'll see what comes of that. One thing also to note, and I read this really briefly. I didn't look into it any further. I guess one of the sections by the stage in the crowd area had actual just people in it this week, not just NXT talent. I guess they actually let a handful of people in. I don't know how that worked, how they were selected, whether they were tested beforehand or anything. So it looks like we're taking baby steps back to reality.
That's all right. And like I said, we talked about it, with the Miz and Morrison versus Braun Strowman. I think that Vince right now kind of has a lot of people on a holding pattern, and he does not want to start big rivalries until he can get, gate attendance back. So,
yeah.
I mean, do what you got to do.
And again, I'm not entirely So I know some of the people who were let go some of them did have the 90-day non-compete clause, correct?
Yeah, any
Yeah, they all do.
WWE talent,
Yeah.
so Raw and SmackDown talent, had the 90-day no compete clause. The NXT folks had a 30-day no compete clause, and it didn't apply to Dash and Dawson because their contracts expired. They just opted to re-sign. It wasn't like they were let.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did see their match in AEW, their debut match where they came into that classic truck. That was a good match.
I mean, it's the Revival. Of course it's going to be a good match.
It's going to be a good match with the Revival.
No, that's not what they're called.
Fine, FTR, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't matter.
Fuck the Revival.
But I mean, it was just a good old like, that's what, when they bitch about tag team wrestling, like that was so good about it. Just good old fashioned, like, you know what I mean? Like the psychology, the teamwork.
That's what they excel at.
It really is. And that's why, if you notice, during that match, they kept referencing and showing Tully Blanchard, because Tully's there and who's the Arn Anderson are there, right? Mm-hmm. They kept referencing them. They kept making references to them. There were a lot of spots in the match that were throwbacks and just really paying homage to the Horsemen.
But Jericho also was being a little over the top, though. He's like, this is what tag team wrestling's all about. This is classic tag team wrestling. Like, you just might as well just be giving Vince McMahon the big middle finger the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dispute it. I think that WWE in general has a lot of good tag teams. If you want to, in terms of how it's presented, I'm always on the side of it's presented better in NXT than it is in WWE, but it's FTR is going to be. They haven't signed exclusive contracts with AEW, and from my understanding, they won't be because there are a lot of other places that they want to go.
One of the reasons why I love AEW is because they let that sort of thing happen.
Exactly. And I think that's fantastic. I would
smart of Tony Khan to do it.
I would love for, at least NXT to do it.
But NXT has been at least, Triple H's has allowed at least his talent to make appearances.
Yes.
At local, not matches or anything, but he's at least allowed appearances.
Yeah, he's allowed appearances. They would previously allow people to work out the remainder of their contracts. Like I remember when Gargano and Ciampa were first signing, they still had a bunch of dates booked because they were per diem basically until they won their first tag titles for NXT. So WWE does, or at least NXT rather, I should say, does tend to be a little bit more flexible. But I would like to see that on a regular basis. I think that would be fantastic. I would love to see some indie show deftly book, the Undisputed Era and the Elite, happen to have them both wrestling separate matches on the same night, just to kind of get, Adam Cole back in with the Bullet Club and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That would,
or
that
even
would...
see, have some of these people go back to their roots, because have like Ciampa come back down to Chaotic, take on JT Dunn. I think that would be a fantastic match.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, well, time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, I think that's it. We are just nearing the 3-hour mark. It's a good one, guys. All right, as per usual, this is being hosted on YouTube right now, so always helps out the channel if you give the video a like, comment what you don't like. Again, everyone, would you tell Dustin to shut up? Because just getting tired of him hogging the entire show. Other than that, we will see you guys next week for the BTW Podcast. I'm Nate Gleason, joined by Lance Johnson.
See ya.
Dustin Hayward.
Adios.
Wade Fry.
CDOs.
We'll see you next week, folks.